Hi, this is Kaery with Kaery Concealed and the Active Self-Protection Extra channel. And this is part 8 of our series, A Good Friend's Guide to a Great First Range Experience. And this is Range Session Success Secrets. So come on back for that.
Palm pepper spray is next generation OC spray. It's hot at 1.4% major capsaicinoids, and its modular design means you can customize it exactly to you. 3 different setups, lots of different color combinations. You can make it exactly as you like. And the flip top safety prevents accidental discharges. It's 10 to 12 foot range and 25 half-second blasts. Make sure that you can keep that long range eye poke at long range. I trust Palm OC and I recommend it for everyone for self-defense.
Welcome back. So over the years, I have learned that if I share with my students, whether it's a line of shooter, a whole entire class, or I'm just doing some one-on-one private sessions or small group sessions, or whether I'm talking to myself before I start a class as a student, that there are a few things that I can remind myself of and remind my students of that sometimes help with their overall experience in the class. And some of these things, actually a handful of these things, came from a book I read while I was in the Active Self-Protection Instructor Certification Program, and that book was called The Talent Code by Daniel Coyle. And if you haven't read that, that's a great read. And also another book by Lanny Basham, With Winning in Mind. That's a great book as well. Both books talk about the importance of being process-focused and not outcome-focused. That if I can be focused on the process, the outcome will take care of itself. And a process typically can be defined, and what can be defined can be repeated. So if I'm able to stay focused on my process and not worry about the outcome, I know from tons of experience, again and again and again, that the outcome really does take care of itself, like shockingly so. So that's something I like to remind my students of, is the importance of staying process focused. Don't worry about what your target looks like right now. What we're worried about is what's going on right here with you as the shooter, and just letting it happen. I encourage them that to get the most out of the course, remaining process focused will help them get the most out of the course. And by engaging in attentive repetition, they'll be able to stay focused on the process. So if they can just engage in attentive repetition, and that phrase came from, I'm pretty sure it's from the Talent Code. I also like to visit with my students and remind them that they're in the class. They're not there to compete with anyone else in the class. And if they are, it's really a shame, because it's their target and only their target. It's them and only them that matters. What other people are doing around them is of no consequence. And if they will just focus on what they're doing and worry about, or think about, not even worry about, but just think about, all I want to be is a little bit better, in the next drill than I was the drill before, rather than looking at other people's targets and trying to compete with someone else. The only one I want my students competing with is the person they were when they came into the class, or the shooter they were when they came into the class. We talk about that criticizing ourselves is just a waste of time, that if we can just ask ourselves the question, did I know what happened or what I did to get that outcome I'm seeing on the target that I'm either happy with or unhappy with? Either way, if I'm focused on the process, that's going to help me understand what caused that outcome that I'm seeing on the target. But that's the ultimate way of being able to self-diagnose and self-correct. And the benefits of doing that are, that's just where I want all of my students to be able to get. I want them to be able to self-correct and self-diagnose. Just a couple more things that I like to talk with my students about as well is the sweet spot. And where do we want to be practicing within our range of ability? Where do we want to be practicing? And this comes from the Talent Code. And Daniel Coyle explains that the sweet spot is the spot that's between our current abilities and where we want to be. And that's where we want to be practicing. We want to be practicing at the raggedy edge of our current abilities. That's the sweet spot. The reason that we want to practice at at the edge of our current abilities is because we want to be making mistakes. We don't want to stay within our current abilities. We want to practice at the edge of them so that we are making errors so that we can learn from those errors and correct them. That's one of the most powerful learning tools there is making errors and correcting them and learning from those corrections. In the book, Daniel Coyle says that mistakes and errors are crucial to the learning process because the learning process, if we'll stay in that process, takes those mistakes and errors and turns them into skills. And that's what our goal is. We practice at the raggedy edge of our current ability and where we want to go. And that's where the sweet spot is. And then Daniel Coyle mentions there's nothing more powerful than attentive repetition. And he says he encourages learners, don't miss out on the opportunity to engage in attentive repetition. There's a big, big difference, and we see it all the time between folks that are just there to sling lead and folks that are paying attention, close attention to what it is they're doing in that, okay, I just got that outcome. Why did I get that outcome? And if they don't know why they get that outcome, they might try the shot again. If they get the same outcome and they're not sure why, then they might ask a question or they might pause for a minute and think. But deep practice is firing and optimizing a neural circuit and growing myelin where we want it. Well, what is myelin? Myelin, well, it starts with every human thought, movement, and feeling is a precisely timed electrical signal traveling through a chain of neurons. Myelin is the insulation that wraps those neurons, or those that wraps the nerve fibers, and it increases the signal strength that's able to pass through. It's kind of the same way that insulation wraps copper wire in our house. And so when we fire a particular circuit, and we fire that circuit in the same way over and over again, the body wraps more layers of myelin around that pathway, around that circuit. So if I'm dribbling a ball, the more I dribble a ball, the more automatic that will become because I'm doing that same thing over and over and over again. And then it adds more myelin to that circuit. So each new layer of myelin in the book, Daniel Coyle explains, each new layer of myelin adds a little bit more skill and speed. The thicker the myelin gets, the better it insulates and the faster and more accurate movements and thoughts become. So it's also possible to myelinate bad habits. And that's what often people will refer to as training scars and other things. But myelin plays a key role, and that's where the practice, that deep practice, practicing right in the sweet spot, which is at the edge of our current abilities and where we want to be, engaging in attentive repetition, and then realizing that how crucial errors and mistakes are to improving and getting better. Why? Because I'm going to learn from those errors and mistakes, and I'm going to correct them, and that's going to make that pathway even stronger. So those are some of the range reminders and actually, no, those are success secrets that I like to share with my students. I don't share them with the students all at once. I will share them in any given class when it's most applicable, when a student is asking a question or when we might do the same thing a couple of times and it looks like people are getting annoyed. I might say, hey, here's why we're doing this. I like to lead with the why, but sometimes I don't always do that. So anyway, I hope this has been interesting for you, and I encourage you to read The Talent Code if you haven't. It's a great book. It's a great audio book as well. All right, I look forward to seeing you next week.